A lot of stuff's been going on this past year. So far, pretty much all of 2018 has been super busy for me. I've moved to a new city, moved into a new place, obviously, new job. So now that I do have a little bit more time on my hands, I've been going out buying games again, and it's been pretty interesting. I got some good ones, got some not so good ones. Thought I'd make a video about it. That's what this is. So the first game I picked up is a game called Overblood. This is a survival horror game with a sci-fi setting, and I remember knowing it was coming out when I was a kid, but for whatever reason I just never got around to playing it. I don't know why. I think I was distracted with Resident Evil and some other stuff at the time. The interesting thing is though, I literally never thought about it again until I noticed it on the shelf of this game store near where I live, and all of the memories of seeing pictures of it in magazines and stuff came flooding back to me, and they had it for $8, so I figured what the hell, I'll get it. Basically, it's about you playing a guy who doesn't know who he is or where he is, and you basically end up waking up on a spaceship or a space station or something, and you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. It's not a terrible game for its time. I mean, it's not a good one either, though. It certainly isn't on the level of Resident Evil or Silent Hill. I mean, if you're looking for a good survival horror game, this isn't really one of them. You know, people compare it to Resident Evil. It really has more in common with games like Martian Gothic. If you've ever played that, it's definitely on that same tier of like kind of below average horror games. The problems that a lot of PS1 games have are all in this game, but it is neat to own as a survival horror enthusiast and as kind of a collector.
Displaying information on selected organism.
What do you know? Looks like I have a name after all.
Gadia, Elemental Force. Not entirely sure if that's Gadia or Gadia, but this game is just not very good, so I don't really care. Basically, everything about this game is bad. There's probably more to it if you're willing to put some time into it, as there does seem to be some sort of elemental thing going on with the abilities and the items you can get. But honestly, the frame rate is horrible. I mean, I haven't seen a game with frame rate this bad in a long time. One of the worst things about it is that it locks onto enemies at random, it seems. So when there's more than one to fight at a time, it's really tough to get through the fights because you don't know which one it's locking onto. It's hard to fight the person you're trying to fight. It's just not a good game. But again, you know, something to own, something to goof off with, sure. Frogger's Adventures: The Rescue is another one of these modern top-down Frogger games, and I honestly like every one of these that I've come across. There's several of them out there, and I've enjoyed my time with all of the ones that I've played. And this one largely plays the same as those. The cover kind of makes it look like, oh, this is like a cheap kiddie version of Frogger. And I don't know, maybe it is in a way, but it plays enough like those other spin-offs that I ended up liking it. It's definitely harder than you think it's going to be. And they tried to tie in some sort of story here, but honestly, I don't really care. I just wanted to get to the platforming, which is a lot of fun. You know, the music is good, the graphics are colorful, so I can really recommend it if you dig Frogger stuff. Mad Maestro. This game I really wanted to like, and maybe it's just an acquired taste, but I don't know, I really couldn't get into it. It's basically a rhythm game where you control the conductor for a symphony, and that seems like a cool idea, and it sounds like something that, you know, as a concept I would really resonate with. But I just didn't have a lot of fun with it. I don't know, I played it for about half an hour. I may pop it back in and give it another shot sometime, but ultimately the concept is cool. It's just not, it's, you know, it's kind of a lower tier game. All right, this is a great name. Shuhu Fengyun Zon. And that's the best I'm gonna do with this name. I was kind of surprised with how much I enjoyed it. I thought it was just a bootleggy kind of game that I saw on eBay, and I thought it was just gonna be okay, but it ended up being really good. It's apparently an unlicensed Taiwanese beat 'em up made for the Mega Drive in 1996. Which is very late for the Genesis. So it's, you know, it's kind of one of those post-mortem homebrews. that people make for systems, and it was re-released in 1999 by somebody in China for the Genesis, and that's the edition that I ended up with. And I must say, money well spent. It's really fun. Pretty close to the quality of Golden Axe games in my opinion. Not quite on that level, but it's close. And it supports 2 players. It would have been nice to see some parallax scrolling though, as the entire foreground and the background are all just one solid layer in all of the levels that I saw. And I think it really could have benefited from, breaking that up into some scrolling, considering the type of game that it is. For whatever reason, that bothered me. But it plays well. It's, the music's good. It's, it's pretty solid. I recommend it if you're into, buying something random for your Genesis. Biohazard Battle is a game that is pretty cheap to get nowadays when compared to most of the other good 16-bit shooters out there. And I really like the aesthetic with all of these weird creatures that look like they belong in some faraway prehistoric era or on some other planet. It's very tough though. I could barely get anywhere after playing for about half an hour to get this footage. It's got a lot of cool music and lots of cool bass lines and low-end stuff going on in the soundtrack, which I enjoyed a lot. Also, if you want to play this but you don't have a Genesis, then you're in luck. It is included in the Genesis collection that just came out for the PS4, PC, and the Xbone. So that's a good way to play it if you don't want original hardware. Skitchin is a game you've probably heard of, kind of like Road Rash, but kind of not, and it's pretty neat with cool graphics and awesome metal music with great drum tracks and some pretty convincing guitar voices in it, honestly. But for whatever reason, I just completely suck at it. I'm sure if I decided to spend a fair amount of time practicing, I'd probably get better, but it didn't really get its hooks into me as quickly as I thought it would. I'll probably come back to it and give it another shot at some point, though. It is a pretty solid game for what it is. Now we're into some PC Engine stuff. I got Insanity for the PC Engine CD-ROM. It's essentially a Berserk clone with some more detail in the levels and pretty awesome music, actually. You can't go wrong with being a Berserk clone as long as you're a good one. And this one is a good one. I had a lot of fun playing it. It nails the control and feel of that type of game, and it has some neat backgrounds, and the synth music, again, it's really cool to sit down and listen to. Even though the tracks are pretty short and they loop a lot, it didn't really get old for me. I really enjoyed it. It really embodies that 80s synth feel. Kind of gives me the same mood of Tron or something like that. This is like Tron had a baby with Berserk, so, can't go wrong with that. Bomberman 93, this was a game that I've wanted for a long time. The PC Engine version is pretty easy to find online. It's not terribly expensive. I just hadn't gotten around to getting it until recently. And it more or less follows the first TurboGrafx Bomberman in the same style, which is great because the TurboGrafx Bomberman is one of my favorites. And this is just simply a follow-up to that. And it's just more of the same and a little bit more variety than that one. So it's a great game to own if you like Bomberman, and if you have a PC Engine, this is a no-brainer. Onrush on the PS4 is great. I've had a lot of fun with this. I was surprised with what it ended up being, though. I didn't think it was going to be such a predominantly online game. It's actually very similar to Overwatch. It's pretty much just Overwatch with cars. And that's fine, there's no first place or last place. You're just going around on a lap, killing each other. And there's different elements that are thrown in. There's, different rules and stuff you have to abide by in different types of games. But that's essentially what it is. So it's really more of a demolition derby mixed with Overwatch than it is a racing game. And that's fine. It will scratch that same itch for you if you're looking for a good chaotic arcade racing style experience. This console generation really has been lacking with arcade racing games in my opinion. Outside of just a handful of things that have come out in the past 4 or 5 years, this is one of the better arcade racing style experiences that I've played on this console generation. And hopefully the online community stays active for a long time, because I do expect to be coming back and forth from this game for a long time probably. So thanks for watching. That's all I got. I'm gonna be getting more stuff. I have more games on my radar that I'm gonna be picking up. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go play some more Onrush. I have a day off work. I have really nothing to do. I could clean the house, but no, I'm gonna play some Onrush. Sorry, house, stay dirty.